Pastor Ed here with Daily Devotions for Thursday, August the 10th, 2023. Our reading today is from 1 Thessalonians 5, verses 9 through 15. For God has destined us not for wrath, but for obtaining salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ, who died for us so that whether we are awake or asleep, we may live with him. And therefore encourage one another and build up each other as indeed you are doing. But we appeal to you, brothers and sisters, to respect those who labor among you and have charge of you in the Lord and admonish you. Esteem them very highly in love because of their work. Be at peace among yourselves. And we urge you, beloved, to admonish the idlers, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be patient with all of them. See that none of you repays evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to all. Again, we're continuing our conversation about encouraging, not judging. As Jesus said, do not judge so that you may not be judged. And Paul described the better way for us. Encourage one another, build each other up, he said. We urge you. Admonish the idlers, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, be present with all of them. See that none of you pays evil for evil, but always seek to do good to one another and to all. Encourage each other, said Paul. Build each other up. Help each other be present with one another. Always seek to do good, not only to those you're closest to, but to everyone as well. And notice that Paul doesn't say here that we're to overlook wrongdoing or wrong behavior, but rather than simply judging others, we're to admonish them, he said. And to admonish means to express warning or disapproval, but to do so, says the dictionary, especially in a gentle manner, to give friendly advice or reproof. Judging, on the other hand, is harsh and hurtful and ultimately divisive. Encouragement, on the other hand, is gentle, caring, and unifying. And therefore, the abundant life is to be found in Jesus Christ is all about encouraging, not judging. On July 25th, 2002, as some of you may recall, 9 coal miners entered the Queeg Creek mine in Somerset County, Pennsylvania. And about 9 p.m., the miners were drilling nearby the abandoned Saxon mine, where some 50 million gallons of water were suddenly released into their own shaft, cutting them off from the surface. In a desperate race against time, more than 200 rescuers worked to save the trapped miners. The men were trapped in a small chamber just over 4 feet high and 18 feet wide in frigid 55-degree water. The area of entrapment was approximately 240 feet underground and about 1.5 miles from the mine entrance. But the miners decided early on that they were either going to live or die as a group. Because the 55-degree water threatened to kill them slowly by hypothermia, they decided that when one of them got cold, the other 8 would huddle around that person and warm him. And when another got cold, the favor was returned. Everyone had strong moments, miner Harry Mayhew told reporters afterwards. But at any certain time, maybe one guy got down, the rest pulled together. And then that guy would get back up, maybe someone else would feel a little weaker, but it was a team effort. It was the only way it could have been. And indeed, 77 hours after being trapped in that mine shaft, all 9 were rescued. Paul writes that we are to encourage and build each other up. Elsewhere, he writes that we are to carry each other's burdens. In life, even in the abundant life, we will only survive and prosper by carrying each other's burdens when they become too heavy to bear, by helping and encouraging each other when we're on the verge of despair, by doing good to anyone and everyone. A few years ago, at the Los Angeles Special Olympics, a group of participants were lined up for the 50-meter dash, and after the starting gun was fired and the contestants took off, one boy left the track and started running instead of toward his friends who were standing in the infield. An official blew his whistle, trying to get the boy to come back to the track, but to no avail. And then one of the other competitors noticed a Down syndrome girl with thick glasses. She stopped just short of the finish line and called out to the boy, "Stop, come back, this is the way." Hearing the voice of his friend, the boy looked over. "Come back," she called, "this is the way." The boy just stood there, apparently confused. The girl, realizing this, then left the track, ran over to him, and she linked arms with him, and together they ran back to the track and finished the race. They were the last ones to cross the finish line, but they were greeted by hugs from their fellow competitors and got a standing ovation from the crowd. In Romans 15, Paul writes, "We who are strong ought to put up with the failings of the weak and not to please ourselves." Each of us must please our neighbor for the good purpose of building up the neighbor. Charles Plum, a U.S. Naval Academy graduate, was a jet fighter pilot in Vietnam. And after 75 combat missions, his plane was hit by a surface-to-air missile. Plum ejected and parachuted into enemy hands. He then spent the next 6 years in a prisoner of war camp. He survived the ordeal and now lectures about the lessons that he learned from that experience. Well, one day when Plum and his wife were having dinner in a restaurant, a man at a nearby table came up to him and said, "Hey, you're Plum. You flew jets in Vietnam from the Kitty Hawk. You were shot down." "How in the world did you know me?" asked Plum. "Well, I packed your parachute," the man replied. And Plum grabbed and shook the man's hand in gratitude, overcome with emotion. "I guess it worked," the man finally said. And Plum couldn't sleep that night, thinking about that man who had saved his life. "I kept wondering what he might have looked like in uniform. I wondered how many times I might have passed him on the Kitty Hawk, never even said good morning, how are you, or anything else, because I was a fighter pilot. He was just a sailor." And Plum also thought about the many hours that sailor had spent at a long wooden table in the bowels of that ship, carefully weaving the shrouds and folding the silks of each chute, each time holding in his hands the fate of someone he didn't even know. Today, Plum often asks his audiences, "Who's packing your chute?" In other words, everyone needs someone else to help and encourage them to make it through the day. And that's what Paul was talking about here. The Christian community should be a place where, instead of being judged and ridiculed and put down, people are inspired to hang in there. They are given help and support when they need it most and are built up instead of being torn down. It's about encouraging, not judging. Well, have a great day. We'll continue this conversation again tomorrow. Till then, take care.